How's it going, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to yet again another locals feature match from, I believe, October 17th or the 24th. No, this is from October 24th. Should be following along with the last few feature matches that have gone up. This is a match that I believe was shown in brief detail. My newest series, One Deck, 1 Month with Mekk-Knights. I believe it might have been in week 2. But obviously here we will be going through the whole match, you know, in detail here, not just in the abridged form that we did for the video. So Mekk-Knights here on the left, piloted by yours truly and invoked Eldlich, or Eldlich Dogmatika rather, piloted by my friend Adam over on the right. So we'll start with Ecclesia set 2. I'll start with that Upstart Goblin. A card that I do still really like in Mekk-Knight, simply because it's basically like Imperia in spell form. Simply by the fact that it can help create a column and it nets you an additional card to work with. And then, as you can see there, World Legacy Scars being played to pitch off Indigo to draw an additional card here. And I'm also now going to play that World Legacy Key, which is so huge in this matchup. Getting Key established, I find this particular format is something that really does help out Mekk-Knight, especially with a lot of splashable engines now, Eldlich and Dogmatika included, having a lot of really powerful trap cards that can outright be turn enders, Punishment mainly being one of them, and then of course you have Conquistador being very difficult, Shaddoll Schism being another one. So having a card like main decked like Key is just so important. So I'm going to summon that purple in the same column that his other card is in. He could have preemptively fired it off earlier. I don't know offhand if the Conquistador pops only monsters, but either way, it is going to be locked in place because it did try to activate while Purple Nightfall was there. And important to remember for you Mekk-Knight players that when you use purple, obviously he targets for cost. He does not banish for cost. So if they do change something in response, you know, by the time everything resolves, purple will still be there in that same column to have Key be able to negate it. Now you're going to see me follow up with that Girsu to get some columns established, more columns, getting that token in play. We're going to try to use Lib here, and he does have Fleur-de-Lis. So still, you know, on the attack here, still trying to play through all these interruptions. You know, we have Conquistador out of the way. We have the Fleur-de-Lis out of the way now. Triple Tactics talent there, going to draw us into a few more cards to be able to keep going. We're going to link in a Morningstar now. We're going to be able to chain link block here, importantly, and make sure we're putting back that Golden Lord into the deck, because that is going to turn off a lot of his cards later on. And also getting a clutch discard there of both the, of just actually the World Legacy World Armor. And I believe in my current build of Mekk-Knight, I have cut the World Legacy World Chalice because I just find it to be too slow. And one of the problematic cards I found in testing is specifically against any Dogmatika strategy, which, as you might know, it's splash into a lot of decks. So it's very common to run into, especially in a competitive setting. And I find most of the time that card is getting shuffled back into your deck via their Omega that they might have access to. So it's just, I would rather have a card like World Legacy World Crown that can be used in Extender and also as an interruption to a good potential card to summon off of the Secret too if you don't have any other Mekk-Knight options as well. A little bit better to send off of Gear Super Say if you're still able to at least get a Secret setup, because it can be a negate for an extra deck monster. Battle Phase will do a little damage over the Ecclesia there, and that'll pretty much do it for our turn. Luckily, we have the Morningstar established here, which also, keep in mind, is being boosted by 300. So we're not taking any damage here, thankfully. He does have Link Reba. We don't care too much about that, though. And that is going to do it for his turn. We pick up Lightning Storm here, which is a little bittersweet. I'd really love to do nothing more than to just completely obliterate half of his field with that Lightning Storm. But it's fine. We'll just sort of keep it in the back burner for now. And at worst, it's a spell that we can just set to make more columns with. He does obviously still have that Conquistador, which is just stuck in place over there since it was negated. I don't believe it hits the graveyard either. I think it just sits there and occupies that spell and trap zone. So starting things off with the World Legacy World Chalice to get that Search of Succession, I believe. Now we're going to tag out purple for blue. And now he's going to attempt to fire off this Punishment, which I do believe here I have a way to shut it down. I do have that secret set. It's going to summon out Indigo here, and we're going to turn that off. And we're going to summon blue, and blue is going to resolve for 2 here, which is pretty huge. He could try to chain, of course, that trap card that's in that column that blue's in. But, of course, with key being established here and him having real no way to get rid of it, you know, it's just going to allow us to sort of pile on the advantage here. Now, I do have this Red Moon that's going to come down, remove the, remove the Fleur-de-Lis. I was a little bit hesitant here about linking off my Indigo, because if he does have that trap card there, which he's debating on activating, you know, I won't really have a way to immediately turn it off because I don't have a Mekk-Knight there any longer. Arguably, I could have linked off the Blue Sky and the Red Moon, but I guess I didn't feel the need to do so since I had yellow in hand as well, which you see me summon there and just immediately use to clear the trap card. And luckily we're not under the restriction of memory here, so we're able to go all the way up into Lib, then into Avermax after that, so we'll get to shuffle the card back in the process. And I think I'm debating here, yeah, I go for the Ecclesia, because again, he does still have some cards in hand, so it is possible at this point that he does have something like Fleur-de-Lis in hand to be able to block damage, so if I can clear more Dogmatika cards off his field, I guess the better. I guess it doesn't really make too big of a difference. But as you can see, I still slide over the Red Moon to pop that Linkuriboh, completely just trying to go for the OTK, and lo and behold, he does have Nibiru, which sucks pretty bad. Luckily, I'm able to at least get the last laugh and try to shuffle his Nibiru back into his deck. So I'll keep this massive token on the field, and you know, it's better than nothing at this point. But again, one of the strong suits of Mekk-Knight, its ability to have the synergy with all those World Legacy cards, is I still have a board presence. It's just in the back row right now. So I still have key up. I still have the secret up, and I'm setting a memory as well. So having all of that is very, very good. And of course, I do also have the scars for what it's worth, for the attack boost, for the additional draws. Scars is a card, though, just going forward, I just decided it would be better off to cut, just because it just didn't seem like it was really all that worth it. Even though the potential FTK is enticing, even though the occasional draw here and there when you see the card is also enticing, but I'd just rather play something like Pot of Extravagance, which has been treating me very well in my current build, so that'll end up doing it for my turn after getting rocked. And then he will also go ahead and use his trap cards here in the end phase. My friend does make a critical error here. He actually ends up setting both these trap cards in columns where they are susceptible to be hit with Mekk-Knights because of key. All he had to do was play that Scarlet Sanguine, can't talk, my bad, in the same column that Nibiru token was in, which is super unfortunate. So for turn, he's going to flip up, or for turn, he's going to play rather the Eldland, the cursed Eldland. He'll pay that 800 life points gladly, and I think he ends up searching a copy of Golden Lord here. He really does need to have Golden Lord in play at this point if he wants to do really anything with his strategy. But yeah, that was a critical misplay. He knows how to play around Mekk-Knights. It's just one of those small slip-ups that in some cases can cost you games. And that's one of the nice things about Mekk-Knights. I feel like, as I mentioned in the past, a large portion of the community is on to the Mekk-Knight gimmick and how it works, but there are still several instances where games will be won because your opponent just simply doesn't understand the column aspect and the column control game that Mekk-Knights can play. They can not only aggress the opponent, but they can also control the opponent with the World Legacy lineup, as you see me doing here. His Scarlet Sanguine is not going to resolve, obviously, because we're going to go ahead and E-Telly out purple here, which seemed like a bit of a greedy play, because I should have just summoned out another Indigo if I had the resources to do so, to prevent another trap from activating by being able to move it over, but having that end phase search potential was very, very enticing. So here we are in game 2. Getting started with that pivotal tour guide engine that I was testing out for a little while. A very, very great engine to help Mekk-Knights be able to adapt and go first. And also be able to search Mekk-Knights if need to. And, you know, also be able to create essentially a 1-card column plus 2 searches all off of just tour guide. The one thing that I didn't like about this, though, was the inconsistencies that came with it. Obviously, being able to draw Boots, Fogblade, Sangan, all in unoptimal draws. But I still think, maybe looking back after all the weeks of playing this deck, that this was probably one of the stronger engines for going first that I had within the deck. And I think it was also teching maybe 1 copy of Gearsu to have as a search option, a searchable normal summon option. But yeah, as you can see there, as good as that opening was, he does have the Nibiru for me, since that play was a little bit more prone to Nibiru, which is rather unfortunate. So that's going to do it for my turn. And of course, as we get it underway here in Game 2, I do want to make a quick shout out to our sponsor over at Imperium Duelist. If you guys want to save some money on some amazing TCG accessories, like the playmat you see me using there on the left, they got binders, deck boxes, dice, sleeves, all that good stuff on their site, and you can get all for 10% off using my discount code WinterKills10off at checkout. And of course, if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, whatever it may be, don't forget to use my affiliate link to them down in the description below as well. Anytime you guys check out and buy things using that link, I will receive a small portion of the revenue from your purchase, and it does go a long way to help out at pretty much no extra cost to you other than just simply clicking that link and shopping like you normally would. So, getting back to it here, our opponent not having the most productive turn, but Nibiru did quite the job. Fogblade getting in some work as well there to stop that Magician's Souls, but he'll get what he wants there in the end phase, and that is those trap cards, those Eldlich trap cards. At least one here, I think. Looks like he has a set impermanence as well. So purple is coming back, and the field spell also coming in handy there to be able to gain an additional draw, I believe. So being able to see some more cards here. And this is, again, this is one of the examples where that field spell does shine, in my opinion. It's one of those cards, if you can get it early, you know, it does help you to see more cards every turn, which is very, very important for a deck like Mekk-Knight. Because Mekk-Knight is very reliant on seeing sort of both engines of the deck. The engine that will facilitate normal summons, facilitate columns, independent of what the opponent is doing, and then the Mekk-Knight engine itself. Because, you know, hands without one or the other are very lackluster. But again, that's why that tour guide engine, still looking back, seems very, very good, because it can search the orange, Mekk-Knight orange, off the Sangan, which is still incredible. Incredible amount of synergy there. But again, it does come at the cost of those inconsistencies. Now that I'm watching this back, I feel really fond of that tour guide engine. I'm not sure if I were to go back to it, if I would really, really like it. But just looking at all the bases, it does seem very, very strong. And even if something like Ash were to hit with the tour, if tour guide rather would get hit with an Ash, obviously you can still link into El Mirage. So it is not the end of the world, you know, to be totally honest, if that does get hit with a hand trap. But, you know, if it resolves potentially, it does put you very, very far ahead. So I try to resolve Lib here. It's going to get hit with an impermanence, as you might expect. Lib's a pretty good card to stop. But I still will be able to resolve Purple Nightfall here. And it looks like I'm going to grab a copy of Red Moon. And another thing, too, is like sorting out ratios is very weird with that tour guide lineup. I think if I were to do it again, I might do 3 tour guide, 1 Sangan, and 1 Gearsu. That keeps it at 5 normal summons, because any more than that, it is quite a bit of normal summons. And obviously, drawing too many normal summons is very bad, obviously. So Red Moon hits the board, and I'm going to go ahead and spin back, at least attempt to spin back his back row, and that is going to go through. And now we're resolving Morningstar as well, which I think right now I might be tempted to go for Succession, because I think if I did that, I would be able to get another pop off of the Red Moon by bringing that back. Obviously, having the Indigo control is nice, but my arrow schemes and everything aren't really perfect. I would need an arrow that is in the same column as the Nibiru. But here's an interesting point. What do I grab at this point? I have 1 search. I have no other World Legacy spells or traps in play. What do I go for? You know, I already have Indigo in play. Do I go for the memory to try to have access to more cards like purple, more resources? Or do I go for the secret play? Try to have more negations ready, but kind of miss out on advantage. You know, it's a tough thing. Or do I have to go for the key to try to lock down his back row and add back a card in the process? Like, there's so many options here. But I decided to go for the memory just because having the ability to be able to block damage during the next turn and also potentially be able to fire off a purple again is very, very enticing. And especially since he's in a top decking situation, going for the secret there, or the memory rather, kind of makes like the most sense. There's really not too many monsters in his deck that he can draw that I'm really worried about negating, other than Magician Souls, that is. But if he's top decking that, it's really not doing him too much good. So going for the extra purple there is very, very helpful. And since we're firing it off firing that off in his end phase, we're no longer locked into Mekk-Knights come our turn. And, you know, we have those extra bodies returning to the field using World Legacy World Chalice. One of the great reasons I love that card is that turn after turn, if you play multiples especially, turn after turn, resource gathering, being able to search a card out like key for free, add it back, and then discard it off the scars. Oh, just such good synergy there. And he's going to go ahead and scoop there as we're just mounting so much advantage, and obviously going to make a push for a game soon after that. World Legacy Scars does have merit, in my opinion, outside of just the FTK, but I don't think I'd ever play more than one, maybe, because if you see most decks, they play field spells, they play 3 of them, even a copy of Terraforming to go along with it. But the field spell doesn't do enough, in my opinion. The attack boost is great. The draw every turn, potentially draw every turn, like a Spellbook Grand Tower if you will every turn. You do have the card to discard, obviously. But it is enticing, but I just, at the end of the day, I think there are maybe better cards that can be played. But then again, I'm actually pretty proud of how that Tour Guide variant worked out. And I might try it again in the future if I do dabble with Mekk-Knights outside of the way that I'm currently playing them. And if you guys are interested in seeing my current Mekk-Knight deck profile, it should be annotated up in the top right in the eye icon in the top right of the video. So check that out if you want. Check out the 1 deck, 1 month Mekk-Knight series. And of course, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Consider becoming a member of the channel today. Hit that blue join button down below for more information. And yeah, of course, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, Winner Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members here, Academic Thick, Zors, and Cadillacs84. Thank you guys so much for your continued and absolutely generous support of the channel. It means a lot. And of course, thank you guys so much again for the support.